It was a cool morning in late September, and the bustling city of Chicago was waking up. The streets were alive with the sound of rushing cars and people hurrying to their destinations. In a gleaming glass tower that stood proudly in the heart of the downtown area, the hiring manager of a prestigious marketing firm, Marissa Clark, was sipping her coffee and reviewing resumes. It was the peak of recruitment season, and she was going through a mountain of applications for a highly coveted role at her company. Her eyes scanned the resumes with a practiced gaze, dismissing the ones that didn't meet the criteria, only to pause when one particular name caught her attention: Jack Anderson. It wasn't his qualifications that piqued her interest, but the sheer number of times his name had appeared in her inbox. Jack had applied for the position multiple times over the last few months, and each time his application had been ignored. Marissa frowned. Most applicants, after receiving one rejection, would move on to other opportunities, but not Jack. His persistence was unnerving, had reapplied over and over, each time tailoring his resume to better fit the role. Each cover letter was more enthusiastic than the last, with Jack expressing not only his interest in the job, but also his passion for the company's work. "Doesn't this guy know when to quit?" Marissa muttered to herself, wondering if this kind of relentless pursuit was admirable or borderline desperate. She clicked the file open and skimmed through his qualifications again. A decent academic background, relevant work experience, but nothing that really stood out. Still, there was something about his persistence that nagged at her, and as she sat back in her chair, she found herself intrigued. It wasn't long before Jack received the email. His heart raced as he saw the subject line: interview invitation. He couldn't believe it. After all the rejections, after all the unanswered emails, here it was. Marissa Clark had finally agreed to meet him. His stomach fluttered with both excitement and anxiety. He had been working tirelessly to prove that he deserved a chance. He just needed one shot to show what he was capable of. The day of the interview arrived, and Jack entered the building with his head held high, despite the self-doubt that was creeping in. He knew this was his moment, the culmination of months of effort. He took the elevator up to the 16th floor, where the firm's offices were located, and as the doors opened, he was greeted by a sleek, modern reception area. Marissa was waiting for him in her office, and as he walked in, she gave him a polite but reserved smile. "Mr. Anderson, thank you for coming in today. Please have a seat." Jack sat down, his palms sweaty as he tried to steady his breath. He had prepared for this moment for so long, but now that it was here, the pressure felt immense. Marissa began asking him the usual interview questions, and Jack responded confidently, though with an underlying nervousness he couldn't shake. She seemed aloof, detached even, but professional as ever. He couldn't help but wonder if he was just another one of the many candidates she had seen that day. As the interview continued, Jack's thoughts started to wander. He was trying so hard to impress, but he couldn't ignore the skepticism in Marissa's eyes. Was she just being polite? Was he wasting his time again? For a split second, his mind flashed back to the countless times he had applied, the rejection emails, and the feeling of being dismissed. But this time, it was different this time. He had to make her see who he really was. Finally, after the formalities, Marissa leaned back in her chair and folded her arms. She took a moment to study him, her expression unreadable. "You've applied to this position a few times now, haven't you, Mr. Anderson?" she asked, her tone professional but hinting at something else. Jack nodded, trying to hide his nerves. "Yes, I've been very passionate about the opportunity. I've been following your company for a long time and admire the work you do. I believe I could really contribute to the team." Marissa raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued by his answer, but she didn't comment further. Instead, she asked, "I have to ask, why the persistence? Why keep applying when there's been no response?" Jack paused, his heart racing. This was the moment that could make or break everything. He took a deep breath, deciding it was time to be completely honest. I'm not giving up because I think I'm the perfect candidate, Jack began, his voice steady but full of sincerity. I'm applying because I believe in your company's mission. I've studied your work, your values, and your impact. I've worked hard, and I'm confident in my skills. But more than that, I know that persistence is key. Sometimes, life doesn't hand you opportunities, you have to create them. Marissa's eyes narrowed slightly, intrigued by his answer. She had expected him to offer some rehearsed line about why he was a good fit for the role. But this was different. Jack wasn't just another applicant. There was something real about him, something that made her pause. I've been where you are, Jack continued, his voice softer now. I've been told no. I've been passed over. But I learned that no matter how many times you're rejected, you can't let it stop you. If you truly want something, you go after it. And I'm going after this because I believe in what you do. Marissa sat in silence for a moment, studying him. Jack had laid his soul bare, offering not just his qualifications, but a glimpse into who he was as a person. There was something raw and genuine about him that made her reconsider everything she had initially thought. Just as she was about to speak, her phone rang, breaking the tension in the room. She glanced at the screen, and her eyes widened. It was a call she had been waiting for, a call about a critical project that the company was working on. She excused herself for a moment, her mind still lingering on Jack's words. When the call ended, Marissa returned to her office and found Jack waiting patiently. She smiled at him, but this time, there was a different energy in her demeanor. "Mr. Anderson," she said, "thank you for your honesty. I have to admit I wasn't expecting that." Jack gave a nervous smile. "I know I probably don't have all the qualifications you're looking for, but I believe I can learn and grow with the team. I just need the chance." Marissa took a deep breath, clearly impressed by his resilience and passion. She stood up, offering her hand to him. "I think you've just earned that chance," she said, her voice warm but firm. "I'm offering you the position. We can discuss the details, but I'm confident that your persistence will bring something valuable to this company." Jack's eyes widened in disbelief. He had done it. He had finally earned the opportunity he had worked so hard for. His persistence had paid off, and it had turned the tables in a way he hadn't expected. Over the next few months, Jack proved his worth time and again. His creativity, drive, and ability to think outside the box made him an invaluable member of the team. The projects he worked on received glowing reviews, and soon, he was one of the firm's rising stars. Marissa, once skeptical of his relentless pursuit, became his biggest advocate, and they worked together to take the company to new heights. But it wasn't just Jack's skills that made him a success. It was his refusal to give up, his ability to see failure as just another opportunity to learn and grow. The truth behind his persistence wasn't just about landing a job, it was about believing in himself, no matter how many times life knocked him down. And for Marissa, Jack's story was a reminder that sometimes the best candidates aren't the ones who tick all the boxes, they're the ones who refuse to quit, who keep showing up no matter what. If Jack's story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about resilience, persistence, and the power of never giving up. Sometimes, the greatest opportunities come from the least expected places.